So in this module, students are using the physical world around them to model a coordinate grid system. In this case, I would initially start with simply a coordinate grid where they're practicing finding points, distance, determining the slope between areas, and then scaling that. So if they have 2 points and the distance on the line, where if they maintain one of those endpoints on the line, where the second one have to be to double the distance on the length, or if you were to shift it, 3 coordinates, so the negative, so to the left, or positive upwards, or to the right, that sort of a thing, where they feel comfortable moving around on a X and Y coordinates on the plane. And once students have determined that they can comfortably determine points, mark coordinates, find the distance between them, and accommodate shifts in the graph, then you want to use your physical surroundings. So in our case, the village itself, or a map of the village, maybe to give them an aerial view to start with, where students pick out landmarks. So it could be anything from specific trees to buildings, and use those as points on their own graph. The idea here is that students will choose different scales themselves. So at Valtzy, for example, if they use the mark plots as the origin, and then chose an adjacent building like the Bahnhof to be potentially 0, -1, so shifting 1 down from the center of their graph, then relatively speaking, everything else in the camp could be mapped out on their site with that relative distance. So in that case, I'd start with an aerial map, have them physically draw the lines where they intersect and make the origin on the mark plots, and then choose a point from there to map out other places. And then you would pick a certain number of distinctive features, or they would go and mark specific things that they found themselves on the site on their own coordinate grid, and use their scale to determine distance between things, relatively speaking. And once they feel comfortable with that, then I would take them on a nature walk and use various landmarks of the physical landscape versus constructed buildings to do a similar activity. So if all the students are in Zweigern, then they'd all get a different portion of it that they'd have to map out. Again, choosing something as a reference point for their origin, labeling it with the appropriate vocabulary in German, and then using other trees or maybe the lake as specific distances on their own coordinate grid, and then drawing in probably 6 or so other physical features or marks, trees, large boulders, that kind of a thing, to create their own map of the area. I think this is something that would work really well on a theoretical scale, if the weather is not permitting you to be outside to do it, or if you're unable to get everyone they need to on a field trip, or you have to go outside, that kind of thing, or if your school is in an area where there's just not a lot going on in the physical features and trees and whatnot surrounding the area. You could definitely do it with aerial views from Google Maps. Yeah, they could do something in their own, use their own home and then relative other houses as distance and coordinate points, and then map routes like from their home to the school, or from their home to a certain park, or other significant features in the town or in the area.